Welcome back to 52 Lockup. I am your Apple TV Cabin Bitten Apple TV. 52 Lockup is a series I start to talk about one of my biggest passion. True crime. A new cat video every Monday. Okay. I know I've been a little bit off lately, but I needed to really truly decompress. And instead of you getting mad, we should focus on how much it looks just like my shirt. Right? So, hope you guys enjoy. Be sure to like, leave some feedback, subscribe if you're new to the internet. I hope those instructions are as lucid as possible. Viewer discretion is always advised. Today, all right, we're going to play the imagination game, right? Again, we're a school teacher. In fact, we're actually teaching first grade. We're in our classroom, and there's one particular student who seems to be maintaining their niche, right, for getting into trouble. The student will threaten teachers, will threaten fellow students, and of course has a history of being violent towards both. And when I say violent, I mean this includes the child choking a teacher until they couldn't breathe. The 6-year-old also broke a teacher's cell phone. Cursed at guidance counselors, resulting in 1-day suspension. And apparently at the beginning of the year, this year, 2023, the boy not only was cursing out their staff and teachers, but also took off their belt to chase the children around in the playground, to beat the children on the playground with their belt. Interesting, right? And you're like, whoa, that's a lot. How old is this kid? 6 years old, right? And you're like, that's a lot. Choking an adult? Chasing kids to whip them? Damaging property? Whoa, don't the teachers have a right to defend themselves? Of course, teachers do reserve the right to use force to protect themselves against unruly students, but like, why did they use it? Probably because the kid's 6, right? So the principal and the assistant principal, Ebony Parker, have been spoken to multiple times about this particular student. Nothing really was done, right? Now, before I dive in deep into what this 6-year-old has done, let's look at the behavior, right? Where would a 6-year-old learn that choking another person, whipping, right, another person, damaging property, that those are tangible solutions, right, to their everyday life? It takes only a mere 11 pounds of pressure placed on both carotid arteries for 10 seconds to cause unconsciousness, right? 4.4 pounds of pressure placed on the jugular for 10 seconds to cause unconsciousness. 33 pounds of pressure on the trachea is required to completely close it off. The average weight of a 6-year-old boy is between 36 to 60 pounds. This kid has the ability to, do some damage, right? So, let's discuss this. You're like, there's some warning signs about this kid, like red flag, right? So let's go over this, right? There are 4 phases, right? The 4 phases of misbehavior, right? Which includes undue attention, misguided power, revenge, and assumed inadequacy. Now, when it's about undue attention, it is about a need, right? They need to feel like they belong. When an adult is constantly paying attention to them, right? They want that special service, right? It's a message of like, notice me and involve me. Like, I want to be a part of it, right? And adults will, you give them a job, something to do together. It helps the child connect and shift their challenging behavior to building a life skill, right? This is how you kind of guide and gear them away from that. Now, if we have misbehavior stemming from misguided power, which is usually from a child's mistaken belief that they only belong when they are in charge, right? They're like, I'm in charge. This is not necessarily a bad thing, but the surrounding adults should try to implement things like allowing the child some kind of power in their choices that affect them, right, within specific limits. And I don't know, an example like, hey, do you want this or water? Do you want oatmeal or granola bar? It's giving them power within certain limits, right? Misbehavior that is stemming from the level of revenge is a child believing they do not belong and something is hurting them, so the response is to choose to get even by hurting others, right? So generally the healthiest course of action from the surrounding adults would be to validate the pain that they're feeling, right? Validate their feelings in order to provide a connection to the child. Once that connection is established, then you can correct them, right? Because the connection is what's providing a feeling of belonging. Now, the last level would be assumed inadequacy, which is where the child will be thinking in terms of giving up, right? And they just want to be left alone. Now, it is considered to be rare in early childhood settings. However, it does have, if the child does have a learning disability that has not been diagnosed or hasn't been properly treated, the child will become very discouraged and often will give up, right? So now this leaves the responsibility up to the surrounding adults, who should attempt to break things down, use words of encouragement or actions of encouragement in order to get the child to focus in the right direction so they can continue to grow and like move forward, right? Now, when I hear about this 6-year-old demonstrating angry, violent behaviors, and some news articles that even imply the student had a slight learning disability, I began to look at the revenge and the assumed inadequacy. I also considered child abuse, right? Because this is a 6-year-old, right? Now, according to Stanford Medicine, some of the behavior clues to a child dealing with child abuse include some of the following. I shall list them right over here, right? Fear, anxiety, being clingy, bedwetting, social withdrawal, decreased social performance, seems to be afraid of a parent or guardian, right? Having depression, increased verbal abuse or physical aggression, right? Physical aggressive behavior with others, destroying objects or even injuring pets, substance abuse, self-harm, sexualized behavior, symptoms of PTSD, or even being overly compliant, especially with difficult or painful things. Now, I can't say for sure what the hell was going on with this 6-year-old who was then born to 19-year-old Deja Nicole Taylor, who's now 25 years old. The family actually confirmed that the boy does have an acute disability, but no one specified what it was. Now, the student was even under specific care plan, right, that required either parent, to accompany him in class every day. So Deja Taylor's 6-year-old son would enter their school, Rich Neck Elementary, with their mother's legally purchased 9mm Taurus pistol. The firearm was secured on a top shelf in her closet, right, and had a trigger lock, supposedly. Now, in January, the boy would show off the firearm to other students. Students panic, right? Because that's a normal thing, shootings in schools. They alert the teachers. The teachers are trying to go through the protocol of retrieving the gun. They speak to the assistant principal, Ebony Parker, about their concerns. But this particular day seems to be the day that neither parent was with them or the problem was actually properly addressed. The 6-year-old boy would walk into class, right, see their 25-year-old teacher, Abigail Zwerner, and shoot without warning or even a struggle. The teacher, Abigail Zwerner, would be shot in the hand, right, defensive mood. Bullet would still make it through, cause damage to her chest and her shoulder. She would still manage to hustle her kids to get out of the classroom to be safe. And then afterwards, she would be rushed over to Riverside Regional Medical Center. Her hospitalization would last nearly 2 weeks. How the fuck did we get here? He's 6. The student needed their parent physically in the classroom to behave. The student also showed very violent behavior, which I can only presume are days that the parents were not there again, right? Is there another element of the misbehavior stemming from also undue attention as well? Like, the first grade teacher, Abigail Zwerner, which is filing a $40 million lawsuit against the school system. Actually, she did it this month in the beginning of April 2023, accusing school officials of gross negligence and of ignoring multiple warnings from teachers and others, and about the warnings that particular day of the boy taking a gun to school. A guidance counselor and administrator at the elementary school said Assistant Principal Ebony Parker forbade teachers from searching the 6-year-old for a firearm, saying his mother will be arriving soon to pick him up. That's your solution, to wait for the mom? The disturbing shooting would draw harsh criticism from parents and would even lead the school board to vote out Superintendent George Parker III, and as well as Ebony Parker, the assistant principal, would resign 2 weeks after the shooting, and the principal, Brianna Foster Newton, was resigned to another school, though the district did not say where. How did he get a hold of a loaded gun? Does the 6-year-old seem fit to stand trial? Because, I mean, they're 6. Well, instead of, going for the kid, felony charges are being placed against the mother. Deja, I apologize if I'm butchering the name, but Deja Nicole Taylor, right? The charges brought up against her will be punishable up to 5 years in prison. This also includes a misdemeanor charge of recklessly storing a firearm, which is also punishable for up to 1 year in jail. There were no mentions of the father's role or if they would be charged as well. I don't know if the father did live with them or did not live with them. there's no mention of the dad whatsoever. It's just purely mom going to jail. And again, I repeat, the child will not be criminally charged, right? So what do you think about them pressing charges against the parent? Do you think this will help with gun restrictions? Are you upset that they are charging the parent? Are you a parent who has guns that are accessible to your children? Are you one of those parents who have purchased AR-15s? Even though I know he didn't shoot with the AR-15, I'm just curious. As a gun owner, I'm all about the amendment to bear arms. I'm all for it. However, for someone, let's say if you are someone who does carry guns, you have them in your household, and you also have kids, what are the precautions that you feel that she should have implemented to make sure that the 6-year-old did not get a hold of their gun? I want to know, what are your thoughts? This is a very intense situation, because I can't imagine, setting up my board, like, okay, today we're going to do colors, guys. We're going to do blue and red. That's not what you signed up for. You're 25 years old. You're just like, I'm going to be an amazing teacher. I'm going to inspire minds across this country. I'm so excited. This is going to be super great. Yay! And then you get shot by a 6-year-old. At this point, you're definitely probably going to start looking at other careers. You're going to start teaching other grades. Something's probably going to change. And one of the things that the teacher mentioned was that she can't forget the look on the 6-year-old's face when they shot the gun. And the other things that I'm also wondering myself is, how come nobody had any investigations done on the household? I didn't see any mentionings of this, so I don't know, maybe there were, and then maybe just someone just effed up. But why did the child require to have the parent physically there present? Something is wrong. Why wasn't this child properly evaluated? Is it because we're out in Virginia, we're heading down south? Is it because of how the states, that particular state runs things? Hold on. So, why weren't the warning signs enough? For a 6-year-old to literally be able to get on top of a teacher and be able to choke them out, essentially, makes me ask, how big is the teacher? Was that teacher particularly too scared to harm this child, by throwing them off of them or anything like that? But I feel if you have a 6-year-old child who's willing to cause harm and choke an adult, where did they learn that? Why weren't, Child Protective Services involved? Why weren't they there to ask questions? And what's the father's involvement? Were they split? Did the father abuse the mother? Were these things that he witnessed the mother going through and he thinks that this is okay? Because kids, when they witness these things, they do demonstrate the behavior. Kids can see their mom, getting slapped up and think, oh, this is okay. I'm supposed to, hit other people, especially and particularly with women, right? And they'll start to, exhibit this behavior out in school. So I'm just, and maybe because I've seen the drastic change in when kids are going through some crap and how they've changed the system of okay, we got to help the kids and stuff like that, which is great. So I just kind of assumed all of the states are doing the same exact thing. How did you miss this heavy warning sign? Did you just not care about the students? You know what I mean? The students' well-being, the teachers' well-being. Did you just think he's 6 years old, what damage could they possibly do? Did you not think about that if a student or a child at that age is acting out and exhibiting that kind of level of behavior, that this is a very serious problem, that there's things you need to ask, there are questions you need to ask, you know what I mean? I really want to know what your thought is. And if it wasn't for that, that one bullet, if it wasn't for that kid could have shot all the other kids if he felt like it. And those kids, they're 6, they don't know what to do, they're probably freaking out. They don't know what to do. And there's no reason why any child or school teacher should ever have to deal with firearms. That's not part of their job requirement. That's for the police. That is for the military. That is for people who are trained and licensed. They didn't say if the mom was licensed. They said she legally purchased it because she didn't have any history, which I did note. That I did notice in regards to the case. But you're a teacher. You're there to like inspire minds, and literally when you're trying to fix a situation, it seemed like the school system was like, just dismissing it left and right, left and right, and then you get shot. Like, out of nowhere. There was no argument. There was no, like, you have to do your homework. Like, there was nothing happening. You just walked up to her and just, wham. Anyways, I want to know what your thoughts are on this particular case. Do you live in Virginia? Again, are you a parent who does own a gun? What kind of gun maybe you own, if you're comfortable putting that in the comment section. How do you set up precautions to make sure your kids are not getting into their guns? Are you a parent who thinks your gun should have an your kid should have like an AR-15 versus a 9mm? Do you see those guns as the same, even though one, it doesn't shoot as many bullets as quickly in comparison? Like, are you a person who is like, no, like, you're not comfortable with guns? Do you feel like if there are kids in the home, there should not be any guns? What are your opinions? And of course, most importantly, what are your opinions, particularly about the mother now being charged? I don't know, again, the father, there was no mentioning of the father whatsoever. So I'm assuming at this point, like, he's probably not even a part of this kid's life. Or would participate, like weekend kind of things. How do you feel about the parent being charged? Do you think setting this into motion, this would cause additional cases when kids do bring the guns, that the parents are now being charged? Like, if you look at the Buffalo shooting, right, up in Buffalo, New York, kid going from QAnon kind of thing and then going up there shooting the place. Do you think, looking at those situations, do you think they need to implement that as part of moving forward? Like, if your kid gets a hold of your gun, blah 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 blah. I do think it's a very long, crazy road when it comes to this, but hopefully we'll get there. But again, as always, stay safe and stay vigilant.